Walk alone, rise alone, win alone, the Stoic warrior path. We're told our whole lives that to be strong, we have to be connected, that to be happy, we must be seen, that our worth is measured by the noise we make and the crowd we draw. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the constant demand for connection isn't a source of strength, but the very thing that makes us weak? In a world that screams for your attention, the most powerful move you can make is to choose silence, to deliberately turn away from the crowd, not with anger or fear, but in search of something far more valuable. This is about a path less traveled, the path of the Stoic warrior. It's a path that begins in the stark and honestly intimidating landscape of solitude. It's about learning to walk alone, not because you're lonely, but because you're preparing to build a strength that no crowd could ever give you and no one could ever take away. It's tapping into a secret the ancient philosophers knew well. True strength isn't built in front of an audience. It's forged in the quiet, in the deep, in the intimidating silence of being utterly and completely alone. The premise: the pain of the path. Every great journey starts with a difficult first step. For the person choosing the Stoic warrior path, that first step is away from the comforting warmth of the tribe and into the cold. And there is a pain in this beginning. Let's be honest, the world doesn't always understand someone who chooses solitude. They might see it as failure, as social rejection, a sign that something is wrong with you. Friends might drift, the invitations might stop coming, and that quiet hum of loneliness can start to creep in. This is the first test. Society is built on mirrors. We constantly look to others to see ourselves, to feel validated, and to know we belong. Turning away from those mirrors forces you to face a terrifying question: who am I when no one is watching? The urge to run back to the noise, to the easy comfort of being liked, is immense. It can feel like you're failing. It can feel like you're losing. But the Stoic warrior understands this initial pain isn't a punishment, it's a crucible. It's the fire that burns away the impurities, the need for approval, the fear of judgment, the flimsy identity you've built on other people's opinions. They know that every moment of real growth comes not from comfort, but from facing your fears alone. This path isn't for everyone. It's for the brave, the focused, the calm. This is the way of the Stoic warrior, where solitude isn't weakness, but a source of profound, earth-shattering strength. The transformation, the 7 principles of the Stoic warrior. To walk this path is to live by a different code. It's about rebuilding your mind from the ground up, one disciplined brick at a time. Here are the 7 powerful principles that guide the Stoic warrior's transformation from someone lost in the crowd to the master of their own universe. Principle 1. Embrace sacred solitude. First, we have to get clear on something the modern world constantly confuses: the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is that painful, involuntary feeling of being disconnected. But solitude, for the Stoic warrior, is a conscious and sacred choice. It's not about escaping the world, it's about returning to yourself. It's the workshop of the soul, the quiet forge where your true character gets shaped. Think of it like this: a sculptor can't create a masterpiece in the middle of a chaotic market. They need the quiet of their studio to see the stone for what it is and what it could become. Your mind is that stone. The constant noise of social media, news, and endless chatter is the chaotic market. Solitude is your studio. It's only when you're truly alone that you can finally hear your own inner voice, untainted by the roar of the crowd. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most powerful man in the world at the time, wrote his famous Meditations not for an audience, but for himself. often in quiet moments during a military campaign. He understood that to lead thousands, he first had to lead himself, and that kind of leadership was grown in the stillness of his own mind. To practice this, you have to be intentional, schedule time for real solitude, and no, that doesn't mean being alone with your phone. It means being alone with your thoughts. Take a walk without headphones, sit in a room in silence for 10 minutes, write in a journal. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your mind, addicted to distraction, will fight back. But stick with it. That discomfort is the sign that the real work is beginning. You're not running from others, you're running toward yourself. You're learning that being alone doesn't mean being lost, it means being found. Principle 2. Build your inner citadel. The Stoics gave us a powerful metaphor for inner resilience, the inner citadel. This is a fortress inside your mind, a place of unshakable calm and strength that no external event, no insult, and no misfortune can ever break through. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Most people live their lives externally. Their happiness depends on their job, their relationships, or the opinions of their peers. When things go well, they're happy. When things falter, they're devastated. Their inner world is just a reflection of their outer world. They have no fortress. They're living in an open field, exposed to every storm. Building your inner citadel starts with understanding what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. You must relentlessly, and I mean relentlessly, distinguish between what is in your control and what is not. Other people's words, their actions, whether they like you, whether you get that promotion, these things are not in your control. Your thoughts, your judgments, your choices, your integrity, these are the only things you truly command. Every day, life will test your citadel's walls. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a colleague takes credit for your work, a friend lets you down. The untrained mind reacts with anger and frustration. It lets the enemy storm the gates. The Stoic warrior, however, pauses. They see the event for what it is, an external fact, separate from their judgment about it. They choose their response. They understand the event itself can't harm them, only their reaction can. This isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily, moment-by-moment discipline. Each time you choose a calm response over an impulsive reaction, you're laying another brick in the wall of your citadel. Each time you focus your energy on your own actions, instead of complaining about things you can't change, you're reinforcing its foundations. Over time, this fortress becomes impregnable. The storms will still rage outside, but inside the walls of your inner citadel, you remain in charge, you remain calm, you remain free. Principle 3. Master the art of opinion, immunity. We are practically drowning in the opinions of others. Every like, every comment, every share is a tiny judgment, and we've been trained to crave the good ones and fear the bad. This dependency is a kind of slavery. Needing other people's approval is like handing them the keys to your own emotional well-being. The Stoic warrior works to break these chains by developing opinion immunity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. That's the great paradox, isn't it? We're the only expert on our own lives, our intentions, and our values, yet we let the uninformed opinions of others dictate our self-worth." Developing opinion immunity doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissive. It means grounding your sense of self in something internal and unshakable, your own character and your commitment to your principles. It's the deep understanding that someone else's judgment of you isn't really about you at all. It's a reflection of their values, their experiences, and their biases. It has nothing to do with your actual worth. Think of it like being a lion. Does a lion worry about the opinions of sheep? The idea is absurd. The lion knows its own nature, its own power, its own purpose. The Stoic warrior strives for that same internal certainty. They act based on principle, not for applause. They can accept praise without it going to their head, and accept criticism without getting defensive, because they know that neither one defines them. This is one of the hardest, yet most liberating practices. It takes courage to be misunderstood. When you stop living for the approval of others, some people won't like it. You will disappoint them. Let them be disappointed. Their approval was always a cage, and you are choosing freedom. True freedom is found in the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, no matter what the world's verdict is today. The path of the Stoic warrior isn't easy, but it is the only one that leads to real freedom. If this is resonating with you, if you feel that call to build your own inner strength, show your support by liking this video, and take a moment to comment below with the principle that has spoken to you the most so far. Your journey strengthens our own. Principle 4. Treat failure as your private university. We're taught from a young age to be terrified of failure. We see it as a mark of shame, a final verdict on our abilities. The Stoic warrior, however, reframes it completely. Failure isn't the end of the road. It is the road. It's not a public humiliation. It's a private education. Every setback, every mistake, and every loss is a lesson from your own personal, tuition-free university. The key is to study these failures in solitude. When we fail in front of others, our first instinct is to manage how it looks. We make excuses, shift blame, and try to save face. Ego gets in the way of education. But in the quiet of our own reflection, without the need to perform for anyone, we can be brutally honest with ourselves. We can dissect the failure without judgment, pull out the lesson with clarity, and use it to inform our future actions. Seneca, one of the great Stoic writers, faced exile, political chaos, and eventually a death sentence. His life was a series of what most people would call failures. Yet, through it all, he kept writing and refining his philosophy, using every setback as fuel for his own growth. He understood that adversity is a training ground. This is how you build anti-fragility, that quality of not just surviving stress, but actually getting stronger because of it. When a bone breaks, it heals back stronger. The Stoic warrior aims to do the same with their spirit. They don't go looking for failure, but they don't fear it. When it comes, they welcome it as a teacher. The next time you fail, resist the urge to immediately distract yourself or look for someone to make you feel better. Instead, retreat into your sacred solitude. Ask the hard questions. What did I misjudge? Where was I unprepared? What part of this was in my control that I ignored? What is the one critical lesson I can take from this? When you do this, you transform a painful event into a source of power. You turn your wounds into wisdom. Principle 5. Wield the courage to disappoint. There's a hidden trap in being the nice person, the desire to be liked by everyone, to never cause friction, and to always be accommodating. It seems like a virtue. But too often, it's a mask for fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of conflict, the fear of being seen as selfish. The Stoic warrior knows that a life of true integrity demands the courage to disappoint others. Every time you say yes when you really mean no, you betray yourself. Every time you bite your tongue to keep the peace when your values are on the line, you chip away at the foundation of your own character. A life built on pleasing others is a life built on sand. Your principles, your values, your well-being, that is the bedrock. This isn't about being unkind or abrasive for no reason. It's about setting firm, clear boundaries that are rooted in your core values. It's about understanding that your first duty is to your own character. As Epictetus, a Stoic who was born into slavery, taught, you can't control how other people react. You can only control the integrity of your own actions. Think of your energy and attention as a finite resource. Every time you give it away to something or someone that isn't aligned with your purpose, you're draining your own reserves. The courage to say no is a radical act of self-preservation. It is you saying, my time, my energy, and my peace of mind are valuable, and I will not give them up just to please you. This will be uncomfortable. People who are used to you being compliant won't like your new boundaries. They might call you selfish. They might get angry. This is part of the price of freedom. You must be willing to trade the shallow affection of many for the deep respect of a few, and most importantly, for your own self-respect. Real connection can't be built on a foundation of self-betrayal. It can only happen when two whole, authentic people come together. Principle 6. The silent victory. Our culture is obsessed with winning, but only if it's loud, public, and broadcast for everyone to see. We chase external markers of success: the trophy, the promotion, the fancy title, the follower count. The Stoic warrior knows this is a fool's game. Chasing external victories puts you on a treadmill you can never get off, because there's always a higher peak to climb and always someone with more. The real victory, the only one that truly matters, is internal. It is the complete mastery over your own mind. It's the moment you feel anger rising and you choose calm instead. It's the moment you feel the pull of procrastination and you choose discipline instead. It's the moment you're tempted by an easy lie and you choose the difficult truth instead. These are the real battles, and their victories are silent. No one else will see them. There will be no applause, no trophy, but you will know. This is what it means to win alone. It's not about achieving success without a team. It's about realizing your ultimate success is a private affair between you and yourself. It's a victory that, once you've earned it, can never be taken away. Markets can crash, reputations can be ruined, health can fail, but the mastery of your own soul, your inner citadel, is permanent. This internal victory requires a shift in focus from outcomes to actions. Think of the Stoic archer. The archer doesn't worry about whether the arrow hits the target. The wind, a sudden movement, so many things are beyond their control. They focus only on what they can control: their stance, their grip, their breathing, the smooth release of the string. They know that if they perfect the process, they have already succeeded, regardless of where the arrow lands. Live your life this way. Focus on acting with virtue, courage, and integrity in this moment. That is the victory. The external results are extra. When you win this silent, internal battle day after day, you become unstoppable, not because you can dominate others, but because you have finally conquered yourself. Principle 7. Self-reliance as the foundation for true connection. And this brings us to the beautiful paradox of the Stoic warrior's path. The whole journey, the solitude, the discipline, the self-mastery, it all seems to be a journey away from other people. But its ultimate destination is a profound and genuine connection with them. The person who walks this path learns to be radically self-reliant. They don't depend on others for their happiness, their validation, or their sense of worth. They have built their own wellspring of strength and contentment inside. They walk alone, not because they hate people, but because they've learned to connect with themselves first. And here's the secret. It's only from this place of fullness that true connection is even possible. So many relationships in the world are really just transactions based on need. I need you to make me feel less lonely. I need you to approve of me. I need you to fix my problems. This isn't connection. It's a kind of mutual dependency. The Stoic warrior, having found wholeness within, approaches others not with a desperate, grasping need, but with an open, giving hand. They don't need anything from you, so they are free to simply be with you. They can love without clinging. They can serve without expecting a reward. They can listen without just waiting for their turn to talk. Their relationships aren't based on what they can get, but on what they can give from a place of genuine abundance. They are no longer a drain on the emotional energy of others, but a source of strength. They become a stable pillar, a calm port in the storm for their family, friends, and community. Because they learned to stand on their own, they are now strong enough to let others lean on them. They are free. And in that freedom, they discover the only kind of connection that truly lasts. The climax. The discovery. Think back to the person who started this journey. They were a solitary figure, standing alone in what felt like an intimidating wilderness. They walked, they rose, and they won all in the silent theater of their own soul. They built their citadel, mastered their mind, and found a peace the world couldn't give and could never take away. One day, they look up from their inner work and notice the world again. But it looks different. The noise of the crowd is no longer a threat, just a distant hum. The frantic chase for validation no longer looks appealing. It looks absurd. They see other people not as judges to be feared or sources of approval to be won over, but simply as fellow travelers, each fighting their own silent battles. They step back into the world, but they are not the same person who left it. They don't come back because they're needy or lonely. They come back from a place of strength. When they speak, it's with a quiet authority, because their words aren't designed to impress anyone. When they listen, it's with a deep presence, because they aren't just waiting for their turn to talk. When they love, it's with a fierce, unconditional generosity, because they are no longer afraid of being hurt. They had to walk alone to learn how to walk with others in true freedom. They had to rise alone to become strong enough to lift others up. They had to win alone so their victory could become a silent, unshakable peace they could finally share with the world. Conclusion 1. The path of the Stoic warrior is not a rejection of humanity. It is a journey into the heart of what it means to be a complete human being. It teaches us that walking alone doesn't have to mean being lonely. It can mean being free. Rising alone doesn't mean being selfish. It means becoming strong enough to serve. And winning alone doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means your victory is so deeply rooted in your own character that nothing can ever take it away. Look, the world has enough people who know how to follow the crowd. What it desperately needs are more people who have done the inner work. People who can stand in their own truth without needing permission, who can love without attachment, and who can serve without expression. The world needs more Stoic warriors. The journey begins with a single, conscious choice. What is the first step you will take on your own Stoic path today? Share your commitment in the comments below. If this philosophy resonates with the path you are on, subscribe to this channel for more timeless wisdom on self-mastery and inner strength. Your journey is just beginning. Walk on.